Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of LLG's Random But Real, where we have conversations about any and all things random with an entree, not a side dish of mental health advocacy. As you know, I use my performance, communication, and literary art skills to bring awareness about mental health and other topics. Therefore, whether I'm singing, speaking, or writing, it is my desire that my words be melodic, just like music to your ears. Please note the comments made on this podcast are just mine. They are not for any professional guidance. I ask that you seek professional guidance if there's something that's being said that is possibly triggering or that you're unsure of. Although I used to be a counselor, that's not what this podcast is about or for. I'm just sharing my own experience and my own thoughts. If you do need help, please seek a licensed professional. And you can also call 911 if you're in danger, and 988 if there is any type of mental health or mentally related situation that's taking place. Okay, so I wanted to do this podcast. It's a follow up to one that I did last year. And I thought it would be important just to kind of talk about what my feelings were or what I was experiencing, because I found out that so many other women were going through the same thing that I was experiencing. Basically, last year I did a podcast that was entitled, or titled rather, not entitled, that was titled Fibroids and a Hysterectomy. And as you know, if you've been following my podcast, I pre record this episode. So nothing has happened yet. I did not think it was going to take me over a year to get my A1C down to under 7. And I have dealt with fibroids for years, since my 30s. The doctor that I had then, the OB, wanted me to have a hysterectomy then. I didn't want to do that. I always wanted children. Go figure. So here I am, 51, and knowing that I can't have any anymore. I get it as far as my head, but my heart hasn't really caught up to that. And I think that after the surgery, I'll really be able to process the finality of that decision. And before we go on, yes, I know that I can adopt. I know that there are other ways that you can have children. A lot of the men that I have dated do have children. So, I've kind of resolved that I might be a stepmother or whatever, but maybe not. Because if you read my book, 21 Days, or mine and my friend Tracy and Morley's book, 21 Days, and you know that I've been through some situations, and it's not been easy, as far as relationships are concerned, but I try to use my experience to help other people. And so I'm hoping that me telling you all my story about this, something so intimate, so personal to me, that it actually does help somebody that's listening. First of all, like I said, I didn't know so many people that I knew personally had dealt with fibroids and or for other reasons had to have a hysterectomy. And for someone who wanted children for such a long time, long for a relationship where that could take place, helped other people who have gone through their maternal journey, those who've also lost kids and kind of been with them, because remember, I was a counselor for 20 years, um, educator, and even a minister. Um, I have been along a lot of people's journeys, their desire to have the children, and then they finally have them. And so in 2023, I had to think back, I had a regular appointment with my OB, and it was at that time that she told me, you're at this particular age, you know, um, I think I might have known a little bit earlier than 50 about that it was possibly coming up, but I think they had grown some. I had to have, well, I don't want to go into all the details of that part, but found out the sizes of them. I knew I had multiple. One of them, when what I'm told, is the size of a melon. I'm like, wow, I've been carrying around fruit for years, right? And I do know that they've grown since the very first time I was told, which was in my 30s. I was either 34 or 38. And the OB that I went to then was just like, just have a hysterectomy, like nonchalantly. I didn't feel like had a really great bedside manner. Um, but shout out to Dr. Two and Dr. Mazare because they really did help me through this process. Dr. Two doesn't operate um, or doesn't perform hysterectomies, but Dr. Maz does, or Dr. Mazare. And so that's how I ended up starting to see her. And she would not operate on me unless I got my A1C down under 7. A1C is, in layman's terms, the blood test that shows where your blood glucose levels are every 3 months. And if they're high in like a set of 3 months, then you're going to test again 3 months later. So it pushes back the test because you wait the entire 3 months to see what that number is. I had gotten it down to I believe 8 something, um, and then the holidays hit. And if you've been following me on social media, you know that holidays were the time where I would emotionally eat. I don't have any, my parents are deceased, my grandparents are deceased. So I would be sad and I would be lonely. I don't have a significant other. Even if I was dating, it was nobody, significant enough to spend the holidays with. And they weren't asking me to do it either. And so I often spent the holidays by myself, even with family. Um, and that's a whole nother story. But I really had a rough time, of it for a while. And so I emotionally ate to the point where my sugar had gone up to 9.1, which is the opposite of the level that it should have been going. And it increased instead of decrease. And so she was adamant. She was like, being diabetic, the chance of infection is greater, so you got to get it under 7. Now, my general physician, he said as long as it's 9 or less, then you could move forward. But, my OB was like, nope, not going to happen. And I was concerned because there were some things happening with me in my job exam that I have to pass in order to keep it. Just the regular stressors. And here it was now November, I finally got it to 7.3, like a year later. And Dr. Maz is like, I'm going to schedule you, choose you 3 more months. And y'all, I almost had a fit. 3 more months before I can actually have this surgery. I've gotten it down. It took me this long to get it to this point, and I've done what I need to do. I did exercise like sometimes 4 to 7 times a week. And actually, what really helped me was my diet. That was really the thing that was bothering me. And the only reason that I was motivated enough not to emotional eat all the time, because I can't lie, sometimes I still did, was because I lost my voice. Last year, 2024, I had a few asthma attacks and I lost my voice. I had muscle tension dysphonia as well. And when you're a vocalist and a speaker, like I speak professionally outside of even my everyday job, talking about the book or talk spoken word or, just entertainment, communication, performance, and literary arts, I speak about the things that I've done um, and get paid to do it. And I couldn't do that because I didn't have a voice at all. I'm still not 100% healed. I have to be honest. I still don't always eat the things I should. Um, and I had an ENT, and I also had a speech um, pathologist that was really helpful in telling me the things that I should have or shouldn't have. And I can't believe right now her name escapes me, so I'm gonna try to find it because that's horrible. But I want to shout her out too. When I went to the ENT, The one that I was referred to go to was beyond packed. And so Dr. Wong is who is the next person that I found. He was not that far from me. And he was like, avoid oranges or orange juice. Put me on some medication to try to deal with what I found the reason for losing my voice, acid reflux, of all things. Who would have thought acid reflux would have been the thing to cause me to lose my voice? And I'm sorry I'm not looking at you all, but I really definitely want to shout out the speech pathologist. And I don't know why right now I cannot think of her name. Um, so Cassandra D. Hill. So that's the speech pathologist I had. And she was immensely helpful because she taught me about some of the things that I should eat, some of the things that I shouldn't eat, and that weren't good for me. And so I had to cut out all acidic food. So I love onions and garlic and peaches and plums and pineapples and tomatoes. I love pasta, which I don't have a lot of because of the carb count. But there were times where I would have it. You know, I had to cut out a lot of things, alcohol, anything that was a dehydrant. So chocolate, everybody else like chocolate, and dairy. So I started doing oat milk and, just trying to find alternatives to the things that I had. I read and found that coffee and tea were the worst things that someone with acid reflux could have. And I actually used to date a guy who had severe GERD and would have to go to the hospital and stuff for it. But I never had those stomach issues, not like that. It ended up being hoarseness. And for me to be a professional vocalist and singer or speaker and for my everyday job having to interview scholars and their families, I needed my voice. And so it was enough for me to cut so many foods out. And sometimes I don't even bring them into the house because if they're inside here, then I might want to eat it, especially if I have one of those emotional days. So I really tried to curb my emotional eating. I exercise 4 to 7 days a week, but I started out going to the gym, but leaving early in the morning when it's cold is not my thing. And I do love walking, but it just depends on what time I got home from work. Um, Although I worked at a school, sometimes I'm at work till 7 or 8 o'clock because I've also talked about the processing, memory loss, and retention issues that I had after my mom died. And so sometimes it takes me longer to complete tasks because I'm trying to make sure I dot every I, cross every T, not to be perfect, but because in the past my memory, just wasn't what it was supposed to be or what it used to be, and that was related to complex post traumatic stress disorder. So a lot going on, right? Again, I'm being honest about this because I do want to help somebody else in or through this process. So I had to make some drastic changes, and I started to feel a little bit better, but the symptoms of having fibroids is tremendous. Like, I don't want to go into all the details on this podcast, but I do suggest that you look it up if just don't know. So just imagine carrying around fruit, and supposedly the largest one, um, well, one of them, I should say, sat on my bladder. And so I would ask some of my friends or talk to my friends who have been pregnant. I was like, is this what this feels like? Because I always had to go to the bathroom. I could use the bathroom, and then 30 minutes later, I have to go again. Or, I'm running to the bathroom from one thing to the next. It would make me late to a lot of different things. People would have to wait because I'll just say really, really heavy flow because that's also one of the symptoms. And so thinking I'm good and then having to go change. Like, it was bad. I had a lot of pain, but I've been used to it. It's been, over 20 years that I've dealt with this. So I didn't even know that it was as bad as it was. And so my doctor, one of the things she did say was choose you. And I was trying, but there were times where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know." I remember meeting this guy, and he was really helpful in the process because I wasn't focused on the sadness of the season. Ironically, I met him on the day that my grandmother died. She had died in 1995 and December 22nd. And so I went to this restaurant because it was closing in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and called Chris Fields and met this guy. And we, became friends. That's what it is, just friendship. But um when we had like a lot of things in common at the time, like being able to just talk about stuff, and he lifted my spirits. And so for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sad during the holidays, and that was helpful too. I started working more, so I didn't exercise it more and as much as I used to, but I realized that the diet really did help. So the less that I ate, the less carbs, the less meat, the less, junk food that I had, it really did help me to reach my numbers. And so here it is. Remember, I pre-record, and this will come out months past the time that I have this procedure. But I am not excited about having surgery. I don't know if anybody is. Plus, I had a bad experience one time, and I woke up. I guess that anesthesia wore off, and I woke up like startled while procedure was happening, and it's something completely different. And they calmed me down and put me back to sleep. But still, it was a little scary, maybe a lot of scary. And so I don't think anybody likes to be cut, but I am looking forward to not having this type of pain. That's something I really don't want to have to deal with anymore. And so, with all that being said, I finally got my numbers to under 7, and I can have the surgery, and I'm going to have it this week. Whew, a lot of mixed emotions. One, because I did always want children, and although I knew I was getting older, this makes it final. Now, when I first found out, and I alluded to this in a previous podcast as well, um, I was supposed to be going to this wine tasting with one of my friends, and to this day we have not talked about it. Um, and she ended up having death in her family too, so she didn't go, and I didn't want to go by myself. I didn't have physical death, but the thought that I would not be able to have a child really was heart wrenching for me. Like, I really am not going to be able to have something that I would long for, I wanted. And she was an individual that I would talk about this to a lot. Um, this podcast may be one of the ways that she finds out about it, and it's um, for different reasons. We've spoken since then, but you know, I was going through a loss too, and I knew that she would understand because we spoke about this a lot. And so it was hard. I went to the event, but there was a fundraising event, and I didn't really enjoy myself because I didn't really want to go by myself, and I was sad. And I thought that I had dealt with the reality of not being able to have kids then, but I realize now that I just know it, like here. But as far as my heart, I'm still like in this stuck place. And I think that part of the issues or the concerns that I have right now deal with the fact that it's about to be for real final. Like then I was just told this. Now it really is this. And I'm facing that reality. And a lot of the guys I date, they have children. So I'll be a stepmother, like I think I might have mentioned before, but it's just not what I wanted. I know I can adopt. I didn't want to do that either. I work with a lot of kids, so I'm always doing something with them. So that's neither here nor there as far as like I wanted my own biological child. And that's just not what was in the cards for me. And so a lot of times my friends who have children, say, oh, you can adopt, blah, blah, blah. But can I just tell y'all, that does not help. Please don't tell anybody that. If they tell you they want children, just listen to them. Be there for them. This podcast is a mental health advocacy platform, and so everything can affect your mental health, as my friend Danya Parker says. Um, but she's right, it can. And so this has, in a sense, affected my mental health. I speak to my therapist about it. It's life changing. So although I'm super happy to no longer have to deal with the pain, I also am, it's a knife, so to speak, or whatever, and things happen. So I trust God. I believe that I'll be fine. This will be posted and be aired regardless. So hopefully, after the surgery and after I've healed somewhat, I can talk about that experience as well. And my hope is to give hope for anybody else that's gone through the pain that so much pain that you didn't even really talk about anymore. Kind of just lived with it. Um, Maybe even in some of the groups that Tracy and I want to have talking about our book, like this affects relationships. Um, you never know how you're really gonna feel. It's a lot of stuff that goes along with this one little thing called a fibroid, right? Um, so I am preparing myself, getting ready, trusting God, praying, trying not to think about um, morbidity or mortality, because I think anytime that you have surgery, sometimes that fear like creeps up. But I know greater is He that's in me than he that's in the world, and I know that God is a healer and that He um, will heal me completely. Um, so I'm facing all different types of things at this time, and I just wanted to talk about it. And if this is you and you're going through something similar, um, it's almost like I want to say my condolences, because when you did want something, some people lost children because of the fibroids. Because it's not enough room to grow because of the sizes. Um, I definitely want to see what this looks like, what I've been carrying around. And I really, low key, maybe hacky, hope that I lose even more weight, like that I'm back to my old size. Because if you see me, I have small legs and a larger top half, but my bottom half is smaller. So it'd be nice if this helped me to be a little bit more proportionate too. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I am looking forward to the change and getting back out there and singing again. And, just like I said, without pain, that is going to be a tremendous blessing. And again, I trust God. So I hope that this information was encouraging for those of you all who have kind of not sure if you want to go through that or not. But also just know that you're not alone. Like I said, I know so many people that helped me and they told me about their experiences. So I'm telling you about mine. I have a platform where I can help people. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I thank you all for listening. As always, please follow me on all social media platforms. Well, TikTok, because it's back now. X, um, yep, I'm still on X. And because I want to reach people wherever I can. So to me, it's not necessarily about the platform as it is about the calling that God put in my life to be able to minister to other people and help other people and uplift other people. So um, Facebook and what else? Instagram, as well as of course YouTube. And on YouTube, all the other ones is spelled. It's one singing lady, the number one or numeral one. But on YouTube, it's ONESINGINGLADY. And I think if I do decide to continue the podcast next season, I will. I want to go back to doing this live. I missed the live recordings, so just got to figure out the timing with that schedule. However, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it, and Also go to the website www.lisalgilliam.com so that you can, get the book and the CDs and spoken word and all of that. Other things, if this has been a blessing to you, please let me know. I would love to know how this has encouraged you. And stay tuned for the next one, just every 2 weeks, and so that you can see how and what happened after the surgery. All right. Thank y'all so much for just listening and watching, and continue to pray for me. Pray for my healing. Pray that um I'll be even better than I was prior to this. So thanks again. You all have a great day. Lisa One Singing Lady Gilliam out.